Alright, today we are learning about equations of a line. Please make sure y'all are pausing this periodically to make sure that y'all get all the notes. If you guys happen to not get all the notes, you can, of course, go to my website and watch it. Just go to Humble High School, go to my, my name under staff websites, and on there it'll be geometry, and then it'll say geometry YouTube videos, and yes, it is through YouTube, so you guys can still watch it on your phones anytime that you need to. Okay, so we are working on equations of lines, and then there will be forms. And yes, I'm going to be moving a whole lot faster than what y'all are used to because you're supposed to be pausing it. There are two forms. So there is slope-intercept. And then there is point-slope. Slope-intercept is the one that you guys are used to seeing. That's the y equals mx plus b. So anytime that you see like y equals 2x plus 4 or y equals a half x minus 2, that is in slope-intercept form. Your m is your slope, and your b is your y-intercept. So where it crosses the y-axis. Yes, y'all need to be highlighting, so make sure y'all got your boxes on your desk. So your slope and then your y-intercept. In point-slope form, you usually have a point and you have a slope. So there's a point on a line, and if they're giving you more than one point, you just choose one. And the equation is y minus y1 is equal to m, and in parentheses, x minus x1. So m is still your slope. That's not going to change. But what's different now is they're using a point on a line. So the x and y for a point. So you know whenever it says like 2 comma 4, the 2 would go in your x1 spot, and then the 4 would go in your y1 spot. So your y1, that is of course your point on a line. That's your y point. Actually, let's do it on the left because your y is on, I'm sorry, on the right. Your y is on the right. And then your point on a line, this x1 comes from the left-hand number for your point. So those are your two forms, and you're going to have to know both. Y'all should have also picked up some stuff to glue into your notebook. Y'all will be gluing that in just a moment. Alright, parallel lines. They have the same slope. And the symbol that we use for parallel lines is two vertical lines. So anytime you're talking about two things being parallel, you will draw two vertical lines in between them. And some examples of parallel lines would be y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3, and y equals negative 3/4 x, let's do minus 2. So you see they have the exact same slope, and that's what's important for those parallel lines. They're the same slope. Another example would be if you used point slope form. So y minus, I don't know, let's use 4, is equal to 3x minus 1. I'm just picking numbers, honestly. And that would be parallel to y minus, let's do plus 5, is equal to, and 3 is what's important, x plus 1. So what's important is that 3 and 3, they're the same, so they have the same slope. Next is perpendicular lines. They have what is called an opposite reciprocal slope. I know that sounds weird. I'll go over it. Opposite reciprocal slope. And we say that the symbol that we use is an upside down capital T for perpendicular. So anytime you see this symbol, it means perpendicular. Okay, opposite just means that if it was positive, you make it negative. If it's negative, you make it positive. So this is like that symbol. So opposite. And reciprocal means that you flip it upside down. So if it originally was 2, you'd do 1 over 2 or some number. So you're just going to flip it. If it was already a fraction, like 1 over 2, when you flip that, that would be 2 over 1. So it would just be 2. So, examples of perpendicular lines. If we use y is equal to negative 3/4 again, plus 3, then the opposite reciprocal, it was negative. This one has to be positive. It was 3 over 4, so when we flip it, it's 4 over 3. So a negative 3 over 4 becomes a positive 4 over 3. So that's what makes those perpendicular. Negative 3 over 4 and positive 4 over 3. This is a 3 over here. In point slope form, if we had y minus 4 equals 3, x minus 1, the opposite reciprocal would be, it was a positive 3, so then it will become negative. And when you flip the 3, it is usually 3 over 1, so when we flip it, it's 1 over 3, so 1/3. So negative 1/3 is perpendicular to a positive 3. Next is comparing parallel and perpendicular lines, and that's where you need to do your pasting. Okay, so this top line, well, the first thing we need to do in order to compare lines, and what we're going to do, so what we're going to do is figure out if, so if you're given an equation, y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3 for the left one, and y equals negative 1/3 x plus 1. So you're given an equation in this graph, and you have to tell whether they are parallel or perpendicular. So remember, these are their slopes. And those are their slopes. And we have to figure out the slope for the line. It is easier if you make a triangle. And again, you don't have to highlight this, you can just draw it, but I know it's harder for you guys to see if I draw it, so I'm going to highlight it. But to make a triangle out of your line, so I'm going to make this go over until it reaches my other point, right there. So here's my triangle. And my vertical rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5. If you just count, it's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this one's 10. Remember that's, and the easiest way, I told y'all yesterday, to tell if this is positive or negative is draw your little guy, and he's going to walk from left to right. So there's his shoes. Since he is walking downhill, your slope will be negative. And it's always rise over run, so 5 over 10. And this reduces to negative 1/2, because you can divide 5 on the top to get 1 and divide 5 on the bottom to get 2. So since this slope is negative 1/2 and the other slope is negative 1/2, they are the same. These are parallel lines. On this one, whenever I draw it, the triangle, very first thing you're supposed to do, draw your triangle. Oh, sorry, I couldn't figure out where my line was. Okay, so we count. This top is 2. This left is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I draw my little guy, he is walking up a very steep hill, but it's uphill, so you know it's going to be positive. It's rise over run, so it's 6 over 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so it's a positive 3. When I compare 3 to negative 1/3, it negative and positive, so that's opposite. And 1/3 flipped upside down is 3, so that's reciprocal. It is opposite reciprocal, so this is perpendicular. Okay, we have a little bit of room left down here. So now if you're given two equations, you have to tell whether they're parallel or perpendicular. So y minus 4 equals 3x plus 5, and y plus 3 is equal to negative 1/3, and then x minus x plus 1. And y equals to x plus 4, and y equals 1/2 x minus 2. So we have to compare them and see if they're parallel or perpendicular. So this slope is 3, this slope is negative 1/3. So this was positive, this one became negative. When you flip that 3 upside down, it's 1/3. So they are perpendicular. On this one, the slope is 2, and this slope is 1/2. This one's positive, this one's positive. So they're definitely not opposites of each other. And they're obviously reciprocals, because 2 turn to 1/2. Since they are not opposite reciprocals, they are only reciprocals, they are not perpendicular or parallel. They're just neither. It has to be opposite reciprocal for it to work. Okay, horizontal and vertical lines. And if you guys do not have a griddable notebook, this is where you need to actually paste in your, you know what, you don't even have to paste in. I lied. All you need to do is sketch it. It really only needs to be a sketch, because we're just doing horizontal and vertical lines. So here's my, I'm making it extra dark, by the way, because actually, you know what, I have a marker on here. That would make it easier. Because I want y'all to be able to tell the difference between my axes and my actual equation. Okay, so this is my x, y axis, and x and y axis. Alright. So if I have a line, and it's vertical like this, if this is 1, 2, 3, then this is 4. So this equation is actually x equals 4. And this slope is actually an undefined slope. This line is actually perpendicular to, so is perpendicular to this guy over here that I'm about to draw. So if I have a straight horizontal line, so if this is 1, 2, this is 3, so this is y equals 3. And this is a slope of 0. So they are perpendicular to each other. If you ever have a straight horizontal or vertical line and you need to do something that is perpendicular to it, you do the other one. Just so that you remember the two, because you will have some of those on your homework. The very last thing we need to talk about is writing equations. Sorry, 5 minutes until 8 period. This is Thursday, so that happens. Okay, if you have a point 3, -2, and you need to write a line parallel to the line y plus 1 equals 4x minus 2. So this would be something that like your book would give you. Well, first of all, you need your slope. It's right here. It's 4. And then you have your point. So remember we did point slope, and we used our y and our x. So if you write y minus -2 is equal to 4x minus 3. And I just got the x from this 3, so those 3's count, match. And this -2 from that -2. And then I got the slope here. Because if parallel, they need to have the same slope. And we're going to write this in slope-intercept form. So minus a negative is the same thing as plus. Distribute the 4. So that's 4x minus 12. Subtract 2 from both sides. And y is equal to 4x minus 14. And we're done with that problem. Our last thing we're going to do today is one more problem. So we're given a point for -2. And we want it to be perpendicular to the line that contains -3, 3, and -3, -2. So the first thing we have to do is find our slope. So our slope, we're going to take our y's and subtract them. Take our x's and subtract them. 3 minus a -2 is the same thing as 3 plus 2, so that's 5. -3 minus a -3 is the same thing as -3 plus 3, which is 0. Remember I told you that this is an undefined slope, which means that the perpendicular to an undefined slope is a 0 slope. Okay, so now we just plug these points in. We now have our slope. It's going to be 0. That is okay. We have our y value, and we have our x value. So plug it in. Y minus -2 is equal to 0, x minus 4. Solve. Minus a negative means plus. Distribute the 0. 0 times x is 0. 0 times -4 is 0. So y plus 2 is equal to 0. We need to subtract 2 on both sides. And y is equal to -2. And we are done with notes for today. Don't forget, if you need to watch these notes again, let's say you didn't understand them, watch them again on your own time, on your phone, right now in the middle of class, whatever. Go to my website and you can watch it that way. Make sure that you guys are working on your homework. Get caught up this weekend if you can. I'll see you on Monday.